So we're almost up to date. Then the little voice in the head, I have these voices in my head, it's really, really scary. Little voice in my head said, you need something a bit more comfortable, Paul, a bit more laid back. So then, if you remember, back in 2002 I'd written the original 1800 Goldwing, and by now the prices of Goldwings, or second-hand Goldwings, had come down quite considerably, within the reach of Paul, who likes to change motorbikes with a degree of frequency that frightens some people. Not his wife, she's just got used to it. So I saw this 2002 blue Goldwing with an absolutely massive screen on the front of it, which I knew was going to have to come off, disappear or something. However, in the UK, so the nearest airport was Bournemouth. Bournemouth? Yeah, I think so, Bournemouth. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. It was Southampton. Come on, Paul, get a grip. So the nearest airport was Southampton. So I took a plane to Southampton, then took a train to Southampton town, then took a coach to a town that was a bit further out, near to where the bike was, and then took a taxi to the farm where it was located. When I got there, the bike was there, great. The guy that was selling it, he'd been held up at work, he wasn't going to be there for 2 hours. So the taxi driver was really fascinated with the bike, got his camera out and he was taking photographs of it and telling me how gorgeous this thing was. And in all his delight with that, he forgot to take my suitcase out of the boot of his car, and off he went with my suitcase in the boot, which obviously had all my riding gear in it, helmet, gloves. I was really snookered. So anyway, I can't do anything until this chap turns up. When he came back, he said, oh well, the signal around here for mobiles is useless, we'll have to drive 5 kilometres to get a signal. So we got the signal. I managed to talk to one of the other taxi drivers on the rank, who said, he's gone home, he's gone down to Bournemouth, that's an hour away. By this time the chap had gone home, gone to the supermarket, opened his boot and found my suitcase, and probably muttered to himself, don't think much about that. So anyway, we got his phone number, phoned him up, but he said, right, I'm on my way back up again. So he returned with my suitcase with all my gear in, by which time I'd signed all the documentation for the bike, having listened to it and decided it was what I was looking for. 60,000 miles on the clock, almost 100,000 kilometres, but it's a Goldwing, it's 1800, it'll be fine. It had a bit of a tap around the alternating area, but I didn't think that was anything serious. It had a peculiar noise when you revved it, but the guy said the plugs need changing, so I thought, okay, it's probably got a plug off, so it'll be alright. So by now, of course, it's dark in the middle of the countryside, no lights, nothing. I'd put my TomTom on it, and of course I didn't know the area, I just had to rely on the TomTom, and she turned me down this very, very narrow country lane. Because the Goldwing had been standing in the sunshine, all the bodywork was warm, but by now the temperature dropped quite sharply. So the screen, this huge screen in front of me, was steamed up. Couldn't see where the hell I was going. And I'm down this country road that's about as wide as one side of this road that I'm on now. It had grass growing in the middle of it, so I was obliged to sort of trail ride on the pegs on a bike I'd never ridden before, that was actually an 1800. The scariest 1.5 kilometres of my life I've ever done. And I had to stand up because I couldn't see through this screen, which obviously was up to here. and it was all condensation and steamed up, and I just couldn't see where I was going. And I say it's pitch black, headlights working obviously. People say, well, why didn't you turn round and go back? Well, even with reverse it would have been complicated, but on top of that, not being new to the Goldwing, I couldn't find where the side stand was, so I wanted to put the side stand down, so just in case I threw it on the ground, the side stand would stop it. Couldn't find it, so I decided that carrying on was the best thing to do. So I carried on, and by the time I got to my lodgings in the evening down in Poole on the coast, ready to take the ferry the following day, I was mentally and physically exhausted. I'd never had such a scary ride down my life. The bike was pretty good. It had this little knock on the alternator that I could hear, and I'd taken a screwdriver to it to make sure it was there, and it certainly was there. So I thought, oh, we're okay, so we'll drive this. So we got the ferry the following morning, and I drove, once the ferry had got to France, Cherbourg, I drove it from Cherbourg down to Jar-sur-Mer. Unfortunately, my arrival at Nantes coincided with rush hour, so I had to use the Nantes ring road to go around Nantes. And because I wasn't really used to the length, breadth and weight of the wing, I wasn't really happy about lane splitting, which I am now, quite happy with it now, but at the time it was just too scary a thought. And of course the local motorcyclists in Nantes, they just came whipping through it at a rate of knots with hazard lights going full tilt, blasting through it, I don't know, maybe 60 kilometres an hour. So I really didn't want to put myself between two cars and be holding everybody up. So I spent about an hour and a half on this ring road. Oh, it was awful. I was absolutely jiggered. Once I got out of Nantes, it was gorgeous again. Alright, so now that's the story of Goldilocks that I'm riding now, my 1800 Goldwing from 2002. She's in pretty good condition. I've replaced the alternator because the shaft was actually slightly off centre, causing the bearing to knock. I tried replacing the bearings, that didn't do anything for it at all, so I replaced the alternator, no problem. And for the other knock, it transpired that whoever had put the plugs in the last time hadn't put them in tight enough, so one of them was just not tight. However, I replaced them with the brand new super duper all singing NGK plugs, and she's been absolutely fine and dandy ever since. No knocks, no taps, no rattles, and just loving every minute of it. My decision that it was a wonderful piece of kit back in 2002 has been borne out since I've actually had one. The engine's wonderful, it pulls like a train. The seating position, okay, I've had a comfort seat put on it by one of the local French suppliers, is absolutely super, because the old one was just tired and split. I've modified the huge screen that was on it by cutting it in half and making it into a Madstad type screen, which you can see in front of me here, which makes for a lovely, smooth, protected ride with all the air shooting right over the top, and I can see quite clearly over the top of the windscreen, not through it. I do not ever want to repeat that experience ever again. It was absolutely terrifying, standing up on the pegs on a Goldwing on a very narrow road, pitch black, freezing cold, first time ride. Not something you want to do with a Goldwing, whether it's an 1100, a 1200, a 15 or an 18, not a good thing. So And that's the story of me and my motorbikes from then till then. Well, I'm going to call this a day as I come up to this next village. If you've enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, give us a bit of encouragement. If you'd like to comment, I'd be most pleased to hear from you. This is Moto Talker here, signing off. Talking to you soon. Bye for now.